Welcome to the WhatsApp channel, Chess Nerd, and in this WhatsApp channel I'm going to teach some things that were never taught in any other channel or in the chess.com library or something similar. But before we get to those parts, I taught how the pieces move, how to arrange the pieces on the board at the starting position, and now I'm going to tell how to win or lose or even draw at chess. The first example. Before telling the first example, I'm telling the ways to win. There are 4 ways. Resignation is when your opponent resigns and he has seen enough and he doesn't want to play anymore because he's in a losing position or he has to leave or anything similar. Checkmate is where your opponent's king is in a position where he's in check and he can't move, defend, or do anything. Like, he's lost. We have abandonment. It's when somebody's internet gets disconnected or when he leaves the page. And we also have timeout. It's when there are clocks beside every game and you have to use your time efficiently, otherwise your time will just run out and no matter your position, you will lose. This is the French defense. He just wasted the tempo. I'll talk about what tempo means. I've blundered badly. I've lost some pawns. Actually, 1 pawn. The game had some continuation. I desperately defended the game. I won a bishop out of nowhere. Now I'm in a drawn position. I blundered and now I'm in the losing position once more. Now it's again drawn. I blundered. And look at this point here. I have 43 seconds remaining on the clock, but my opponent only has 1 second. And look what miracle happened. His time ran out. It's my opponent from Turkey. The opening is the Sicilian defense. He went for the pawn structure Maroczy bind, but it changed quite soon. I'll talk about pawn structures later. Let's just concentrate on the game. I seemingly blundered. I thought I had a checkmate threat, but that was not the case. And I moved up my rook to win tempo on the queen, but I blundered checkmate. Checkmate. Look at my king. It has literally no squares. This rook... What happened to my arrow? Sorry, I didn't mean that. This rook controls these 2 squares. And this queen is checking me as well as controlling these squares. I have no way to block. So this is a checkmate. I lost the game. Okay, this is another game by me. It's a win by abandonment. It's when he left the page or he got disconnected. Okay? And it usually happens when people are in the lost position and they just leave the page instead of resigning. This is how the game went. What is that? A win by abandonment? Let me check if it's the same game. Yeah. It's the game I was looking for. Okay. He went for the symmetrical game. I went for the Max Lang attack. I'm just flashing through the moves because I don't want to talk about these blunders and mistakes. I just wanted to show you how the game went and what does win by abandonment mean. I promoted my pawn sooner than my opponent, but he checked me, so I had to dodge all of this. He blundered somehow, and I promoted my next pawn. That was a check, so my opponent had to react somehow. And here my opponent knew that he was lost, and I know how to counter this position, so he left the page. And we have another type of win. Yeah, it was against one of my classmates. It happened just today. I had 2 wins and 2 losses against this guy. He's quite strong, 1600 rated, but although he's 1600, but he literally crushes me in most of his games. It was a London system, but it transposed into a Slav defense. I had a quite good position, but somehow I blundered. Now I'm a pawn down. Now I'm 2 pawns down. And I knew that if I move my king here, well, he can capture this pawn. But I didn't see the mate, of course. And if I do anything else, he would just come here. And that's a kind of ladder checkmate. And these are how to win or lose at chess. Now we're going to check some ways to draw a game. Okay, we have 5 types. It's draw by agreement. We have repetition. Oh, sorry, 6 ways. Sorry, I forgot. Agreement is when 2 players agree to draw the position. Repetition is when a series of moves was just repeated by both players on the game 3 times. Stalemate is when your king is not in check, but you have nothing to do. Insufficient material is when it's just like 2 kings on the board, or like 2 kings and only 1 bishop. No one can checkmate the other opponent. We have timeout versus insufficient material. It's when one player does not have like enough pieces to checkmate the other opponent. However, that opponent ran out of time. In 50 move rule, it's when 50 moves in a row happened where there were no captures and no pawn moves. That's how the 50 move rule happens. Okay, this opponent, he's actually one of my friends. My second tournament in my life, I played against him. He was my first rival. I won the first round against him, but like after a few days we had a rematch and he cooked me. It was the Italian game. I didn't know how to continue the game. I had no opening theory knowledge. However, he said that he had to leave. And I was like, draw? He said, okay. And this is how draw by agreement happens. This is quite a long game, about 69 moves, and I don't even remember my opponent. It was a draw by repetition. It was a French defense, La Bourdonnais variation. I'm like up too much material. But he has a queen, I have 2 rooks. He's constantly checking me, hoping for a draw. Bro, why is my screen like this? Okay, the game had some continuation. And here, because the moves were just repeated over and over again, we reached a draw by repetition. Which means like he checked me so many times. It started from here. Let me show you. Rook to h7. Check here, check here, check here, check here, check. And the position repeated 3 times, and it eventually became a draw. The system discusses that. Okay, this was a draw by a stalemate, and it usually happens in king and pawn endgames. It's when your opponent's king is not in check, but he has nothing to do, so it's a draw. And the chess.com system tells that it's a draw. Like, you don't decide that. It's a quite long game, 80 moves, so I'm just passing through it at the speed of flash. Okay, I think I shouldn't do that. My system just got, like, you know. Now I remember my opponent. I think it was the day after the tournament I had. I won a silver medal, by the way. We had a very drawn rook endgame, but however I blundered 2 of my pawns, but it was still a draw. And this is how it happened. look, I can't go here. Okay, let me just show it again. Here's not a possibility. I can't go there. I can't go here. I can't go there either. Because at least the king or the pawn is controlling those squares. But I'm not in check, so that's a draw. Okay, this is a draw. I think it was a draw by insufficient material. Am I right? Yeah, it was a draw by insufficient material. Okay, this is how the game started. Actually, I'm not passing through the game. I'm just bringing the remaining position just to show you. Here, we have two lone kings which cannot checkmate each other. No matter how many moves do you pass, like say 5,000 moves. Even 5,000 moves later, nobody checkmates the other. So, the chess.com system says that it's a draw by insufficient material, where nobody can checkmate the other guy. Bro, why is it reviewing my game? Okay, we have a timeout versus insufficient material. Okay, in this position. Okay. This was again a drawn position. Like if my opponent had even more time, it would still be a draw. Okay. And this position, he just ran out of time. I didn't have any piece to like checkmate the opponent, so I had insufficient material. A pawn is sufficient because it can promote, and however, he lost on time. So this is because I had insufficient material. This is a draw, called timeout versus insufficient material. Come on, bring it. Okay, here. This is a draw. Hikaru played one of the strongest bots ever on chess.com. However, I didn't want the game review. How can I mute him? Okay. This is how the game went. I also spectated the game on YouTube. Five-time US champion was competing one of the strongest bots. It's actually Martin's wife. Everyone should know Martin. Just for your curiosity, Martina, Martin's wife, was playing white, and Hikaru was playing black. And I'm dashing through the moves because you see this evaluation bar here. It's 0.00 for about 50 moves. The game still continued. Like they couldn't do anything. And the game ended in a draw. Because since move 60, there were no pawn moves and there were no captures. So this game ended in a draw by a 50 move rule. I hope you enjoyed, well, not enjoyed this video. This video has no content for enjoying. But I hope you learned all the ways to like win, lose, or draw at chess. In the next video, I'm going to start a game and I'm going to show you how chess.com works.